Jim Mora Jr. Let me start with that, Jim. Was it when you were with the Falcons? Did you have ownership in the draft meetings in the war room?
Yeah, Arthur Blank was very involved, and but he would stay out of the way, and he would let Rich McKay and Tim Ruskell and Phil Emery, the guys that were kind of, and myself, that were making the decisions, make the decisions. But he's really always there in a support role, and I think we appreciate it. Depends on what their involvement's going to be. You bring up Al Davis. I mean, Al Davis was a football guy. I mean, he was a football coach. He was a general manager. He was an owner. He knows the game inside and out. And as you said, at the right time in his life, I mean, he was a tremendous resource.
You got this game coming up this weekend, and I started to wonder about this because when you saw UCLA, let's say on the outside looking in when you first took over, what was the reputation of UCLA football or their style before you got there?
Well, I mean, my reputation or my opinion of UCLA was skewed a little bit by the fact that I played at the University of Washington, and they were a team that, we wanted to beat every year. So, but we quite frankly felt that there was a softness to them. And when I came here, I didn't find that to necessarily be true. These were a group of kids that wanted to win. They wanted to do the work that it took to win. They were committed. And that's what they've shown me since I've been here. So I think my feelings about what they were have changed, and certainly my feelings about what we are have changed.
The model, though, do you have a team in mind that you say, I want to build my team to resemble this?
I don't know if I have a particular team, but I have a vision of what I want our team to be, what I want our program to be, as we continue to build. And we're just, we're still in the infancy stages, but we want to be a team that's disciplined, that's tough, that's physical, that's hard, which mentally tough. We're looking for big, fast athletes that come from successful programs where they're used to winning. They know what it takes to win. We want to be a team that can get in tight games and somehow pull it out at the end. I think if you look at a mindset, maybe you point towards Alabama and what they do. They're big and they're physical and they're tough and they find a way to win when they have to win.
I didn't know if you saw it in Stanford because Harbaugh goes there and changes the whole complexion of that team. They became a tough-minded power team, whereas before, I think we looked at the Pac-12 and said you got unbelievable athletes, but there's a lot of finesse out there. Did you consciously, subconsciously look at what that transformation that happened to Stanford?
No, not really. I recognized it. Jim came in and he did a great job. He took Stanford, as we know, is a bunch of really smart kids, and he brought a tough mindset to them, and they adopted it very quickly. And I wouldn't say that we're a power football team like Stanford is or was with Jim. We spread it out a little bit more on offense, but I think our mindset is one of toughness, and I think that's what you're looking for. It's the mindset. And, we play hard defense, tough defense, but offensively we're going to spread it out. But we can run it when we need to. We were running for over 300 yards a game up until a week ago.
He's Jim Mora, UCLA head coach. Got Stanford coming up this weekend, Saturday afternoon at Stanford. Is Hundley further along than you thought he would be as your quarterback?
Dan, he's coming along. I can't say – I haven't really put any expectations on him nor limitations on him. I think he gets better every week. He's still a young guy. He's still learning. He's only played, he played 19 games now. He's got a tremendous amount of ability. He's got a great work ethic. He's got an outstanding attitude. And, he works hard every day to get better. He learns from his mistakes. He's got all the physical tools you could want, but it's just a matter of him continuing to gain experience in games. And I'll tell you one thing, it's fun to watch him grow. It's fun to watch him get better. It's fun to watch him approach his craft. And there's no doubt in my mind that someday he's going to go down as one of the great ones at UCLA.
Do you wish Stanford had won last week?
I kind of wrestled with that a little bit, but I came back to what I always think, and it doesn't matter to us, and it shouldn't matter to us, the psyche of the other team, whether they won or they lost or, what their record is or anything that's going on within their program. Those are variables that we can't control. So my focus, our focus as a team is just on playing the best we can, preparing for the Stanford schemes, preparing for their personnel, not worrying about their psyche and if they won or if they lost. So it doesn't matter. We still got to play the game on Saturday.
Do you recruit more against Pac-12 teams or the entire country?
I would say Pac-12 teams. Now we're trying to dip into the South a little bit, and I haven't lived in New Orleans for quite a while and lived in Atlanta. I appreciate what they do out there, but we want to focus most of our attention on California and the West. And in order to win California, you have to beat USC, you have to beat Washington, you have to beat Oregon, you have to beat Stanford. You have to beat Arizona State and Arizona. Those schools that come in here and try to take the talent from this area. And then more recently, we're seeing teams from the South come into California and make offers on guys. Texas A&M has been, making some noise in California. Oklahoma's been making some noise in California. So it's primarily the Pac-12, but now we're having to fight off the nation a little bit. People are seeing how much talent there is out in California.
What do you think of this college football committee? Should you have been a former player and or former coach to be on a committee like this?
You know what, Dan? I don't have an opinion on it because I haven't paid much attention to it. I kind of trust those that are in charge of making those decisions to make the right decisions, and I just worry about what I can control, and that's UCLA. The way I feel is this: if we can win enough games and play good football, then they'll be forced to choose us. So that's our goal.
You going to change up uniforms? Seems like, you've done a little bit here, but Oregon, they're at the other end of the rainbow here, and they got pink helmets coming up this weekend. How much say-so do you have, and do the kids have anything to say about changing up the uniforms?
I heard you guys talking about that this morning. I'm looking forward to going to the website and seeing what they've got cooked up.
It's bizarre. It is.
Is it awesome? Yeah, you were saying pink and black shoes and pink and black socks, and I want to see the helmet. But we're pretty traditional here at UCLA. My feeling is this: I like people to be able to turn on the TV, see a uniform, and recognize what team it is. That being said, though, I think you've got to be able to do some things with your uniform that attracts the recruits, that attracts the attention of the nation, makes you relevant. So, we've got a game this year where we're wearing a black and blue uniform that looks pretty sweet with a different helmet. We changed our road uniforms this year up a little bit. Sometimes we'll go with the white pants with the stripes, but nothing crazy like Oregon. That's their identity. They can do that, and people look forward to it. If we were to do that, I think people would say we're being copycats. So we'll just, we'll tweak it every once in a while, but we kind of stay true to the tradition of UCLA.
Your reaction when Lane Kiffin got fired?
Well, as you know, Lane's a friend of mine, and so I felt for him on a personal level, and I still do. And he and I have been in contact quite often, mostly via text. I know how hard it is. I know what it feels like. I've been fired twice. I was fired from the Seahawks, which was my hometown, and I was heavily invested in that job and in that community, and it hurts. And Lane's the same way here. So, I feel for him, but we also know as coaches that it's part of the business. Very few of us get through this thing unscathed, and so you have to deal with it. But, I always wish Lane the best. I think Lane's a good man, and I think he'll land on his feet.
But I haven't been fired. And so I don't know, and certainly when you're
lucky, man.
Yeah,
because you're so damn good.
Well, I haven't had that many jobs, but here you are. Coaches are hired to be fired. We always hear that. But when you get fired, is it, oh, woe is me, feel sorry, or it's more anger? I'll show you. What kind of emotions did you go through?
Oh man, well it depends, on the circumstance. But I think, as a competitor, the first thing you do is you think, well, I'll fight back. It wasn't me. And then, you go through different stages. It isn't death, but I'm sure it's a little bit like death. You grieve a little bit, and you blame others, and you go, why me? And then hopefully you get to the point where you self-reflect, and you say, okay, what could I have done better? Why don't I quit pointing the finger at other people and look inward and decide what I need to change to make sure if I ever get this opportunity again, I don't screw it up like I did the first time. And I think Lane did that. You saw him on the mothership, as you call it, and he did an excellent job. And I think he's accepted responsibility. I think that's how you move on. So, like I said, he's a friend of mine. His dad had a tremendous influence on my defensive philosophies. I got to work with him in New Orleans, and I just want the guy to do well, and I think he will if he's given another shot.
Would you consider hiring him?
Yeah, but I don't have a position on my staff. I love my staff. You know, I got Noel Mazzoni, who's my offensive coordinator. He's, in my opinion, he's one of the best in the business. We got great staff chemistry. But if there's ever a situation where Lane was available and he was interested and there was a position available, he's a guy that I think anyone would want to consider. You know, he's a good football coach. Dan, he's a really good play caller. You know, I've had to try to scheme up against him on defense, and when he's got the quarterback that he thinks can make it happen for him, he's tough to defend because he's not predictable. You know, he gives you wrinkles and he sets you up, and he's a good play caller.
Have fun at Stanford. Always good to talk to you, Jim. Thank you.
Dan, thank you. Take care.
All right, that's Jim Mora, UCLA head coach.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.